We're being evicted. God damn it!
According to recent reports, nearly 44 million Americans are at risk of eviction, and the situation is only getting worse. As the pandemic continues to rage on, many renters and homeowners are struggling to keep up with their payments, and some are on the brink of losing their homes. Eviction is a traumatic experience that can have long-lasting consequences for individuals and families. It can lead to homelessness, unemployment, and financial instability, and can be especially devastating for those with children, disabilities, or chronic health conditions. Evictions can also disproportionately affect communities of color and low-income households, exacerbating existing inequalities. The looming eviction crisis is the result of a combination of factors, including the economic fallout from the pandemic, the expiration of federal eviction moratoriums, and the slow rollout of rental assistance programs. Many renters and homeowners have lost their jobs or seen their incomes decrease due to the pandemic, making it difficult or impossible to pay their rent or mortgage. While the federal government has provided some relief through stimulus checks, unemployment benefits, and rental assistance programs, these efforts have not been enough to stem the tide of evictions. In addition, many of the eviction moratoriums that were put in place to protect renters and homeowners during the pandemic have expired or been struck down by courts. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, issued a federal eviction moratorium in September 2020, but it expired on July 31, 2021, and a new moratorium issued by the Biden administration was struck down by the Supreme Court in August 2021. Some states and cities have their own eviction protections in place, but they vary widely in scope and effectiveness. Another challenge has been the slow rollout of rental assistance programs. The federal government allocated $46.5 billion in rental assistance funds as part of the COVID-19 relief package passed in December 2020, but many states and localities have struggled to distribute the funds quickly and efficiently. As of August 2021, only a fraction of the rental assistance funds had been distributed, leaving many renters and landlords in limbo. The looming eviction crisis has prompted calls for urgent action from lawmakers, advocates, and community organizations. Some have called for the federal government to extend the eviction moratorium and increase funding for rental assistance programs. Others have called for more robust protections for renters and homeowners, such as a right to counsel in eviction proceedings, a ban on evictions without just cause, and stronger tenant organizing rights. Despite these calls for action, the situation remains dire for many renters and homeowners. As of August 2021, an estimated 7.4 million households were behind on rent, and 3.5 million were at risk of eviction within the next 2 months. Communities of color and low-income households have been hit especially hard, with Black and Latino households more likely to face eviction than white households. The situation is particularly acute in states like Texas, Georgia, and Florida, where large numbers of renters and homeowners are at risk of eviction. The looming eviction crisis is a stark reminder of the ongoing economic and social inequalities in the United States, and the urgent need for bold, comprehensive solutions. While the federal government has taken some steps to provide relief and protection to renters and homeowners, more needs to be done to prevent a massive wave of evictions and homelessness. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the fragility of our housing system and the need for systemic change to ensure that everyone has access to safe, affordable housing. According to a report from the Aspen Institute, an estimated 30 to 40 million people in the United States are at risk of eviction in the coming months. If this were to happen, it would be an unprecedented crisis, with potentially catastrophic consequences for individuals, families, and communities. The immediate impact of widespread evictions would be homelessness. If 44 million people were to be evicted, it would be the largest displacement of Americans in history. Many people would have nowhere to go, and would be forced to live on the streets or in shelters. This would create a public health crisis, as homeless individuals are more susceptible to disease, and could further spread the COVID-19 virus. In addition to the health risks, homelessness has a wide range of negative consequences. Homeless individuals are more likely to experience mental illness, substance abuse, and other health problems. They are also more likely to experience violence and crime, and have a lower life expectancy than the general population. Homelessness can also have a negative impact on communities, as it can lead to increased crime rates and decreased property values. Another consequence of widespread evictions would be a dramatic increase in poverty. Many of the people at risk of eviction are already struggling financially, and losing their homes would only exacerbate their economic difficulties. This could lead to a rise in homelessness, hunger, and other forms of deprivation. The effects of poverty are well documented, and can have long-lasting impacts on individuals and communities. Children who grow up in poverty are more likely to experience poor health, lower educational achievement, and decreased employment opportunities as adults. Poverty can also lead to increased stress, which can further exacerbate health problems and reduce life expectancy. The economic impact of widespread evictions would also be significant. Many of the people who are at risk of eviction are renters, and their inability to pay rent would have a ripple effect throughout the housing market. Landlords who are unable to collect rent would have difficulty paying their mortgages and other bills, potentially leading to a wave of foreclosures. This could lead to a collapse in the housing market, and have a devastating impact on the broader economy. There are also legal and political consequences of widespread evictions. Evictions are often handled through the court system, and a flood of eviction cases could overwhelm the judicial system. This could lead to delays in processing cases, and could result in some people being evicted without due process. There is also the potential for political unrest. Evictions are likely to disproportionately impact people of color and low-income individuals, who have already been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. If these individuals feel that they are being unfairly targeted, it could lead to protests, civil unrest, and other forms of social disruption. Finally, there are long-term consequences to consider. If 44 million people are evicted, it would be a profound failure of public policy. It would signal that the government is unable or unwilling to provide basic protections for its citizens, and could lead to a loss of faith in government institutions. This could make it more difficult to address future crises, and could have long-lasting impacts on the political and social fabric of the country. In conclusion, if 44 million people are evicted, it would be a catastrophic event with wide-ranging consequences. It would lead to widespread homelessness, poverty, and economic disruption, and could have long-lasting impacts on individuals, communities, and the country as a whole. It is imperative that policymakers take action to prevent this from happening, by providing financial support for renters, landlords, and others.